We were lucky enough to be able to spend the night here. We picked up Edward, and as always, whenever we pick up Edward, unfortunately, we end up with problems. But this time, the problem was able to be solved thanks to today's partner, AFERY. I caught you. I caught you on video. Yes, because we're not alone. There's also the cat with us here, wandering about. He was a right pain all night. The cat, it was a right pain all night. So he said, right, let's just let him wander off for a bit and explore. We will just have to wait and see if he eventually decides to come back to us or not. Well, looking at him now, he is clearly having a brilliant time out there. It is not a bad way to spend the afternoon, is it? So, you might be wondering why the campervan has gone and caused us even more trouble again today. It is because inside this campervan, I actually have two separate batteries installed. Well, if I am being honest, there are actually three. I have got the main starter battery, which is the original one that came with the vehicle, and then there is the leisure battery, and, well, even the backup system, engine battery, you know, the one everyone has in their van. Then I've got the original leisure battery, the one that's currently mainly used to run the pumps, and luckily this one, I changed it about 2 years ago. But since this winter, since the last little road trip we did in April, and now it's June, the battery for the secondary system set up for the road trip, specifically for working, well, that battery is completely knackered. You can even see the positive and negative terminals are oxidized. And just like last time, I used to be able to scrape together a few hours at the end of the day, but now, as soon as this goes down, well, I've got absolutely no battery left in the campervan, no battery at all. So I'm a bit stuck. But luckily, AFERY has just sent me the Nomad 1800, and I need to tell you about this battery because I was actually quite surprised. And let's settle down quietly and I'll introduce it to you. Here we are with a nice coffee. I can't even begin to tell you about the view I've got. The sun rose, about an hour and a half ago. It's still not too hot. I think this is the perfect spot to talk to you. So, the Nomad 1800. Now, the first thing that surprised me when I first opened this battery, it's that in terms of shape, AFERY usually made batteries that were wider than they were long. That is, the battery shape was exactly the same, but the information was just here. On this new battery, they've done it the other way round. So I was already quite surprised. I was also quite surprised by its size because actually when I read its capacity, I was expecting a battery that was bigger because the battery is still 1 kilowatt hour, and compared to batteries from competing brands, well, I find that it's smaller for 1 kilowatt hour. It's smaller, or at least especially less tall. You can see that there's a bit more effort put into the design in terms of design, and you should know that AFERY generally used to present batteries that weren't necessarily the most attractive in terms of design, you know. These are really batteries for those, once again, who want to get into solar generators and who don't necessarily want exceptional features. No, who just want the basics. The cat is currently having a mad dash. The basics, meaning you want capacity, reliability, enough sockets so you can plug things in. In short, AFERY, there you go, you don't want the most stylish screen. The features, no, I've got snails having a race on the battery. I'm actually filming them for you at the same time. They're just off they go. They want to get into the USB ports. There you go. Same here. That's nature for you. So there you have it. The battery, as you can see, they've added colour, a little orange tint, which I think looks really nice around the ports. Honestly, I think it's perfect in terms of the number of ports compared to the battery capacity. We've got two USB 3.0 ports and two USB-C ports. One of them can deliver up to 140 watts, so that's perfect. We have MacBooks, MacBook Pros, and, well, a USB-C port that can deliver 20 watts. As always with AFERY batteries, there's the torch, The torch, I have to admit, that's something I don't really use. Maybe not much. Actually, I've just thought of it because last night, it's true that I plugged the battery in outside precisely so I could help out my leisure battery, which was no longer working. Maybe at night when you set up the battery, you could use the light to say, oh look, I've got a battery here, don't drive over it. But otherwise, honestly, I can't really see myself carrying the battery around just to light something up and, well, maybe for the SOS signal, that could be useful. There's also a cigarette lighter port. Now that's handy. It's useful. For example, once again, since we lost our internet, my modem is a modem that also works with a cigarette lighter socket. So, needless to say, for me, that's essential. These front ports can be turned on and off with a button. Yeah, I think that helps save battery life. That's why we've got exactly the same thing on the rear ports. The rear ports are 250 volts ports. Of course, we've also got the input sockets. So this morning I was able to recharge the battery a bit with a foldable solar panel that I have in the campervan. There's the socket that lets you connect the battery to your mains, to your electrical network. So before putting the battery in the campervan, I plugged it in at home. When I received it, it was at 30%. It took me 38 to 40 minutes to recharge it to 100%. It's worth noting that AFERY has added a button that you don't get on other batteries, which is available in the mobile app. And that's something I really like about a competing brand. The fact that you can manage the AC input 220 to 240 volts with the app. I'll say it again, it's because in the campervan with the solar panels, I'm limited to 450 watts. So when you plug in these devices that are extremely power hungry, when it can draw up to 1000 watts from a main socket, but my solar panel only delivers 450, well, that means it's the leisure battery that will have to make up the difference, that will have to provide what the solar panels can't provide. And that's not great, to be honest. So with another brand, what I liked was the fact that you could manage the input with a mobile app and tell it, well, no, you only take 250 watts in. It's fine, I'll just take longer. But at least then the sun gives me 250 watts and I'm not going to fry my leisure battery. But what AFERY does is different. They've added a switch that goes from 1000 watts to 500 watts. And I tested it and it works. At home I was on 1000 watts, I switched it to 500 and for the input there was only 500 watts coming in. So 500 watts. Now with the different panels that you can find on campervans, it's about, I think, the minimum that people should have nowadays on a campervan, 500 watts. So it's rather clever. There you go. It's true that with the app, you have to get it out, set everything up and all that. Here, we've got the little switch. You just flick it straight to 500 watts. I think it's a good idea. It's something you rarely see with brands, being able to control the input. Usually people say, well, no, I want as much as possible. Well, not necessarily. Sometimes you don't want to bring in 1000 watts all at once. You don't need it. You should know that. If you charge the battery slowly, apparently it charges better. So that's for the new features on this battery. I'm editing this now and I realise that there might be people who won't understand. Yes, indeed, you can connect the campervan solar panels directly to the battery. But sometimes I recharge my battery by plugging it into the main sockets in my campervan. These main sockets are themselves powered by an inverter and by a battery, which in turn is powered by the solar panels on my campervan. It's not recommended to do that. Actually, well, this is for those who might say, but hang on, normally if you connect your panels directly to the battery, you're limited. No. So this is the situation where, for me, it's interesting to be able to manage what's coming into the battery. Right, let's get back to the video. Among the connectivity options, and this is something I really like in this type of battery, is that you can add an expansion battery, which makes this battery a somewhat versatile battery, meaning you can both take it with you for your campervan and then also have it at home plugged into other batteries, which allows you to increase the capacity and not, well, for example, have a battery that you only use in a camper van. And that's what makes it more cost effective. If at home you have other batteries a bit bigger, you can connect them to this one. And that gives you a higher storage capacity on the other hand. That's also why I really like this type of versatile battery, because, for example, if you take battery with a very, very, very large capacity, the ones that weigh 40 kilograms, whereas this one only weighs 10, that means you're not going to lug around a 45 kilogram battery from your home to a camper van. So when you have both a camper van and a bit of solar power at home, I still think that this kind of battery is ideal, because you can still take it with you, you can move it around with you. That's something I really appreciate about this type of battery. What else do you need to know? It's also controllable via a mobile app. I'll download it to test if it's the same as the old one. We still have not that many features apart from doing what the battery does manually, turning the ports on and off. I'd rather not get ahead of myself. I hope they've done some updates. It's not necessarily AFERY's strong point. AFERY's strength is the cost per kilowatt hour. And here, when I saw the price of this one, I honestly didn't really understand, because I found it so expensive. Well, I'm not going to give you the price at the time I'm making this video. The battery is between 430 euros and 500 euros. It varies a lot generally. That's why you shouldn't take into account the price I've just mentioned here, because if you're watching this video 6 months after it's come out, well, the price will have changed a lot. However, I always have an article. I have an article in the video description where you have both access to the promo code and each time access to the descriptions and the full review. Another advantage of the AFERY brand and this battery is the 7-year warranty. There you go. Several brands offer a 3-year warranty. With AFERY, you get a 7-year manufacturer's warranty. Once again, if you use my link, if you use my promo code, which is in the description, because it may change over time. If you buy directly, you get the best deal. When you buy from shops or elsewhere, you don't necessarily get the 7-year warranty. When you buy directly from the website and use the promo code, that's when you get the best deal. So don't hesitate to have a look in the description. Don't hesitate to use our promo code to buy this battery if you're interested. And the ultimate test, when you're living on the road for a battery, usually comes from the ladies. A hairdryer. There's rarely anything that uses more power than that in a nomadic life. Thank you, ladies. So what we are going to do now is test plugging the device in to see how it performs. But before we can do that, you actually need to remember to turn on the battery pack first. There you go, that is it. And now I have finally got something showing up on the display screen here. It is reading at exactly 87%, which is brilliant. Okay then, so that is looking really good for us, and you can go ahead and try it out for yourself right now. Let us see if it actually starts to blow some air out of the vent. Is it officially approved then? Is the strand fully approved for use? Yes, it looks like the strand is definitely approved. Yeah, that is working perfectly. That's all right then. Battery. Well, this battery is once again intended for those who don't want to spend a fortune on a solar generator while still looking for reliable and affordable equipment. That's what AFERY does. As the name suggests, if you have a small camper van like ours and you've already got some kit inside, you want a backup battery that you can take with you, that you can bring back home, which just has, I think, the right number of kWh in capacity to easily last you 2 days if you're working, and it's not heavy. This one, once again, weighs 10 kilograms, which is pretty light for a battery of this type. And I, having tested the P210 and the P280, 2 models from AFERY that I already have at home, I can tell you that with this one, you can really feel there's been a step up. You can tell they've improved the quality and the design. There's definitely a bit more research. We're no longer really dealing with just the basic model. Here you can tell there's been quite an effort made. And they've even tried to introduce a little innovation with this input intensity selector. So Vasco the cat, Edward and Caroline inside, we wish you a good day. Don't forget, if you're interested in this battery, our promo code is still in the description, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Because, as I said, during the 4 days we'll have the camper van, I have got lots of lovely videos coming your way. So we will definitely catch up again very, very soon. I am sending you lots of kisses. Bye bye for now.